What's going on, folks? Ted from Immersion here, and yeah, I'm wearing the same clothes as yesterday because I've literally been up for 24 hours for work, and I'm finally logging off of my blue sky regular day job to go to bed, and actually have the rest of the day off just for sleep time. But I wanted to make one more video because I talked a lot about in the Unearthed Arcana Dragon Monk video that the Drakewarden Ranger got a lot of updates, and it did, and I do think it was pretty much across the board buffs, which was nice to see for a Ranger, and considering I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again now, this is the only Ranger I have ever considered playing. That goes a long way if you know about me, and especially if you know about my history with Rangers in old editions, and how much I loved them, and how much I was upset and saddened by seeing what we have here in 5th edition. So, that being said, let's dive in, but hey, if you like what I do here on the channel and all sorts of different kinds of coverage, consider subscribing, it helps me out. I also have decided to do a split screen for this one because there are so many changes, where some of the other stuff we've talked about, we could kind of flip back and forth. These are significant enough that watching them side by side is probably the most beneficial. So, go ahead and showing this off. Left-hand side is Fizban's Treasury of Dragon. Right-hand side, Unearthed Arcana Subclasses Part 5. So if we scroll down, we can see we do have the Drakewarden Origin table, which does look right off, it looks pretty much the same, so we do still have a D6 options. Let's scroll down to Draconic Gift. Originally, it was if you can't already, you learn to speak, read, and write Draconic, and you learn the Thaumaturgy cantrip. This is, again, what you get at 3rd level when you take the subclass. You get Thaumaturgy as well, but they have changed it to be you speak, read, and write Draconic or another language of your choice. Again, a very simple minor update, which is nice because if you already had Draconic for one reason or another, you're not gimped by losing out on a free language, so that's nice. We can also see this very cute art of what looks to be a chromatic Dragonborn and his Drake puppy here. So, then the sort of main crux of the class is the Drake Companion feature, which is essentially what it is. You can see you have a Drake Companion. Massive changes here, all for the better in my opinion. Originally, as an action, you can summon the Drake, which appears in an unoccupied space within 30 feet. It's friendly to you, listens to your commands, uses standard pet mechanics that we've seen, which has the proficiency bonus in places that scale. You can determine its cosmetics, and then it does have one ability that you choose, which is its Draconic Essence, which is essentially what kind of damage immunity it has and damage it deals, whether that be fire, cold, acid, lightning, or poison, I believe, yeah. In combat, it shares your initiative count, goes immediately after you. It can move and use its reaction on its own, and the only action it can take on its turn is the dodge action, unless you take a bonus action on your turn to command it to do something else. The action can be one from its stat block or anything else. If incapacitated, it can take any action of its choice. And then it used to be once you summon the Drake, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest unless you spend a 1st level spell slot. And this was the part that pissed everybody off, which is why I do legitimately think that in some instances Wizards of the Coast is listening heavily to the feedback. Because it used to be, the Drake remains for a number of hours equal to your proficiency bonus until it is reduced to 0 hit points, until you use this feature to summon the Drake again, or until you die. Anything the Drake was wearing or carrying is left behind when it vanishes. So it was less of a real Drake and more of a summoned spirit in that way, but it pissed everybody off because the entire thing about the class is this Drake. And you only had it at minimum 2 hours a day, at maximum 6 hours a day at level 17, and then if it ended or was gone and you wanted to bring it back, you needed to use a 1st level spell slot to do so. It seems like a lot of hoops to jump through to just be able to use the main function of your subclass. So let's see what changed, and then we'll do the comparison of the stat blocks. So you can magically summon this. So it is still a summon in that instance within 30 feet. More now along the lines of a fine steed, though, which is good because Paladin kind of sets the standard in my mind with fine steed. So pretty much all of this stuff is the same. On combat, it shares your initiative, blah, 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 blah. It remains until it's reduced to 0 hit points, until you use this feature to summon the Drake again, or until you die. Anything the Drake was wearing or carrying is left behind when it vanishes. Once you summon it, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a spell slot of 1st level or higher to summon it. So all of that stuff is the same, except now it doesn't disappear after an arbitrary amount of hours. It stays basically until it dies, you summon it again, or you die. And then even if it does die, you can spend a first level spell slot or higher to just bring it back. Which is great because it doesn't have to run through the issue that Beastmasters have where you lose it and then you're out of your animal companion for a while. So let's take a look at our stat blocks here. Drake Companion stat block, I believe it's mostly the same. 14 plus proficiency bonus in natural armor. Its hit points are 5 plus 5 times your ranger level, and it has a number of d10 hit die equal to your ranger level. Its movement speed is 40. Its stats are 16, 12, 15, 8, 14, 8. That's the same. It has proficiency in dexterity and wisdom saving throws with a +1 dex, the dex plus proficiency bonus and wisdom plus proficiency bonus. It is immune to whatever the damage type you choose from the Draconic Essence. So if you choose acid, the dragon is immune to acid. If you choose fire, it's immune to fire. A little bit of strategic choices there because obviously it's going to affect the types of damage you deal, but also the amount of the damage immunity it has. So, right, having immunity to fire or poison will be very good for you, as it will prevent a lot of damage incoming to your Drake Companion. However, damage going out may also be reduced because a lot of things are resistant or immune to fire. It has dark vision out to 60 feet, and it understands... It actually says language is Draconic, so as far as I can tell, it can talk. It has an 8 intelligence, and it has Draconic as a language. In my mind, I was assuming this is more of a... and it doesn't specifically state that it can't read or write Draconic. It just says it has Draconic. Sometimes they usually put the qualifier there like it can understand the language, but it can't speak it. I don't see that here, so I guess it can talk. We have the Draconic Essence, so when you summon it, choose Acid, Cold, Fire, Lightning, or Poison. It's the damage immunity, and its Infused Strikes trait. It has a bite that is 3 plus your proficiency bonus and does a d6 piercing damage. Now, originally, it did a d6 piercing damage plus proficiency bonus of a type determined by the Draconic Essence. So it did actually get a minute nerf in that it used to do extra, minimum extra 2 to maximum extra 6 damage. It has now just become proficiency bonus damage, and that it has the reaction of Infused Strike. When another creature within 30 feet of the Drake that it can see hits with a weapon attack, any weapon attack, the Drake infuses the strike with its essence, causing the attack to deal an extra d6 damage equal to it. So that's really cool because the Drake uses that reaction, so it's using the Drake's reaction to possibly add more damage to anybody else's attack. Could be you, the ranger, could be somebody else. It's also when they hit with an attack, so he could, in theory, use the Infused Strike on someone getting a critical hit, turning that 1d6 damage into 2d6 damage, which is pretty cool. Then we have a Bond of Fang and Scale. Originally, at level 7, I got the following benefits. You, the ranger, gains resistance to the damage type chosen by the Draconic Essence. So again, whether that be Acid, Cold, Fire, Lightning, or Poison. Choose one of the following. The Drake gains a swim speed of 40 feet and can breathe both air and water. Or the Drake grows wings and gains a fly speed of 40 feet. And the Drake's bite deals an extra d6 damage of a type chosen by its Draconic Essence. Now it has the ability Drake Mount. The Drake grows to medium size. Reflecting your special bond, you can use the Drake as a mount if your size is medium or smaller. While you are riding your Drake, it can't use the flying speed of this feature. It doesn't say anything about... Am I missing that? It can't use the flying speed of this feature. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed it up here. When you summon the Drake, it grows wings on its back and gains a fly speed equal to its walking speed. I missed that up at the top. So it gets a fly speed right out here. It grows to medium size, and you have the ability to ride on it. Now, typically, a creature needs to be larger than you for you to be able to mount and ride it. So this is a special feature of the Drakewarden that even though you could be a medium creature, and it is also a medium creature, you can ride on it. Now, the thing is, it does say while you're riding your Drake, it can't use its flying speed of this feature. That does seem to imply that even if you are a small race with a medium Drake mount, it still can't fly at this point, based on how I'm reading that. Anyway, so it does get Magic Fang. The Drake's Bite deals an extra d6 damage of the chosen type for the Draconic Essence, and you get resistance to the damage type. So the resistance remains the same, the extra d6 damage is there, but I have seen some complaints that it was nice that it gave you the option to give it a 40-foot swim speed and the ability to breathe air and water, or to grow wings, and now it has removed the option for that to give you only fly speed, but the ability to mount it. I still think if I was going to do this, I might allow people, because what if you were playing in like a oceanic themed thing, or potentially underwater, maybe you're around marshes and swamplands, you might make that choice at a point to give it a swim speed of 40 feet and the ability to breathe both air and water. It could then still benefit from the Drake mount feature. I don't know if it would also where it says it can't use the flying speed of this feature. I don't know if you'd say that it couldn't use the swim speed either. I'd argue that if that was the case, you would be able to use the swim speed because of just the buoyancy and the nature of liquid and moving through it. But maybe that's the reason why they decided to just make it fly speed and put this caveat here, so they didn't have to have fly speed or swim speed and then two caveats saying, well, you can ride on it if it's swimming, but not if it's flying. I don't know. All in all, I think this is a decent change. I like the concept of this Drake mount feature. I have a feeling we're going to see this type of ability appear more in the future. This, like, even though you're medium, you can ride on the medium creature. I think we're going to see that more than we have in the past. All right, moving on to Drake's Breath at 11th level. So it used to be, as an action, you can exhale a 30-foot cone damaging that either you or your Drake exhale. Choose acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison damage. Each creature in that cone must make a dexterity saving throw against your spell save DC, or take 6d6 damage on a failed save, half on a success. This goes up to 8d6 when you reach 15th level, and once you finish this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest unless you expend a spell slot of 3rd level or higher. This has gotten an increase in that it does still a 30-foot cone, still a dexterity saving throw, but base damage has gone up to 8d6 on a failed save, half on a success, and then at 15th level it goes up to 10d6. So a 2d6 bonus to the damage on both, the base damage, and then increasing again by 2d6 at 15th level. It is still once a long rest, and then again a 3rd level spell slot to use it again. This kind of adjustments that we're seeing here, what we've seen so far, is again why the monk updates make me so upset, because they're so, like, you can see how, like, they were like, oh, this is weak, let's improve it. And the monk had abilities that I felt like were more in line with the newer version of the Drakewarden, and they chose to go backwards. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. And then lastly, we get Perfected Bond at level 15, which originally was your Drake grows to large size. Its bite deals an additional d6, so for an extra 2d6 on top of that. And whenever either you or the Drake takes damage while you're within 30 feet of each other, you can use your reaction to give yourself or the Drake resistance to that damage. It now has, again, Perfected Bond, so we still have that the same, or Empowered Bite rather, increased the damage by a d6. So a reminder, that means your Drake is now dealing with a weapon attack that does +3 plus your proficiency bonus. At 15, that's a 5, so 8 to hit, dealing a d6 plus 5 piercing damage, now plus 2d6 additional damage, equal to whatever the Draconic Essence type of damage is. It does grow to large size as well, and then it says when you ride your Drake, it is no longer prohibited from using the fly speed of Bond of Fang and Scale, which again was that thing that says you can't ride on it even though you're medium size. You now are able to do so. And then it also has what they're typing as Reflexive Resistance, which I believe is the same. When either you or your Drake takes damage while you're within 30 feet of each other, you can use your reaction to give yourself or your Drake resistance to that instance. You can use this, see, here's the thing. It used to be unlimited. You could do that as much as you wanted, and now it has become proficiency bonus times per long rest. That seems a little silly for a 15th level ability to put that caveat on there. I guess it would make you very, very survivable, but I feel like it's no less survivable. I guess maybe it is, I was going to say, than a barbarian in Rage. But typical barbarian, unless they're bear barbarian, is limited in the damage type. And they have to activate it as a bonus action, but then it persists, whereas this is still using up your reaction. So I guess I understand that, and the overall updates that we saw above, I am a fan of overall. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. How do you feel about these adjustments to the Drakewarden Ranger? In my mind, it is pretty much improved across the board. I already had thought that it was playable and was decent, you know, like a Ranger that I would be very interested in playing in the Unearthed Arcana. And again, I'm basing that solely on the subclass. We do still have base Ranger features. You do still have the updates and improvements in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything that you can also employ. And then whatever kind of benefits you'd get from whatever race you're choosing. Again, you could choose to be a Dragonborn, one of the new Dragonborn Drakewarden Rangers, and as such have multiple breath weapons and multiple resistances and things like that, which could be very fun depending on how you work that out, right? You could be, you know, I don't know, a resistant to poison damage, and then you make a red drake, and now you're resistant to fire damage as well. That could be something interesting. So again, a lot of different options to play around with. The only kind of downside I see to it, and it's very minute, is Rangers typically have access to a couple of decent things to do with their bonus action, whether that's things like Hunter's Mark or Hail of Thorns or some of the other spells and certain abilities use a bonus action, but now you're basically more than likely going to be devoting your bonus action entirely to having your Drake companion do its attacks. So that's just a minor thing, but I do think that's offset. You know, obviously you're probably not going to want to go two-weapon fighting because you're never going to use your secondary weapon because your Drake's going to be just guaranteed doing more damage than your offhand weapon attack. So the only thing that I wish it had, which it doesn't, which is kind of a bummer, which is a sort of a boon that Beastmaster has, is like a shared spells ability. Because it would be nice that if I put Hunter's Mark on an enemy and I attack it, that my Drake could also get the benefit of Hunter's Mark. But that's a pretty easy free magic item idea that you can do as far as specific items for a Drakewarden. Something that will improve the bond. Take a look at what the Beastmaster has. Another thing I should point out that a lot of people have brought up is at no point does the Drake companion's abilities ever get magic. Whereas the Beastmaster Ranger, I think it's 7, their attacks become magical. The Drake Companion's attacks never become magical, so they're always going to be either possibly resisted or immune depending on the creature. Again, that can be solved with things like the Amulet of the Claws or otherwise. Also, like I said, this creature has an 8 intelligence and apparently can talk, so there's a lot of things you can do with that as well. So, anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like I said, I am a big fan of the Drakewarden Ranger, which just feels weird to say. But stay tuned here on the channel. Again, like I said, I'm going to sleep, so it'll probably be a while before you see another video from me. But next up will be the feats, the 3 new feats, which are just updated versions of the 3 feats contained in the Unearthed Arcana Draconic options. So if you go look at that Unearthed Arcana, you'll know that it's Gift of the Gem Dragon, Gift of the Chromatic Dragon, and Gift of the Metallic Dragon. We'll cover those in the next video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.